Hello. I actually feel so nervous about that. He just bigged me up so much. All lies. So don't base my speech on that. And there's actually a lot of you. The last time I was speaking to an audience this big, I was at a wedding. They were American and very drunk. So with a London accent like this, it was easy. If you could be as kind as they were, I would really appreciate it. Actually, something that James just said leads quite well into my talk about living my truth, which sounds really airy-fairy, but I want to talk today about building your brand. And I don't want to talk about it in the traditional sense of our external brand. Not social selling, not the power of LinkedIn. I totally believe in these things, but I think I'd be flogging a dead horse at this point. When I walked in, I see someone with hashtag social selling on their hoodie, so I thought that's not the route I want to go down. I actually want to talk a bit more about something that I think we don't talk about a lot. It's something quite straightforward, but I don't think enough of us are thinking about it and doing it, and that is actually building our internal brand, right? Building relationships and our reputation inside of the organization. But before I do get onto that, I do want to say one quick thing about the LinkedIn stuff. These traditional tools to cement yourself as a thought leader, whether it's writing articles, just engaging more in general on LinkedIn platforms like that, building a blog, etc., doing speaking engagements. They're brilliant and they work, but they don't work for all of us, and they don't necessarily work for all of our prospects, right? So I think it's okay to step outside of those traditional ways of doing things. And if building a brand is about cementing yourself as someone credible through the lens of who you are as an individual, then of course it makes sense that you can shake things up. You don't have to do things the way they've been traditionally done. So I actually have an English literature degree. I blagged it the whole way. I love reading, but I don't really like writing. So writing a LinkedIn article doesn't work for me. It's too time consuming. I edit like crazy. It's all a nightmare. I actually much more prefer conveying my ideas verbally. So I had an opportunity at Ometria to create a podcast and host it. And I jumped at it because this was right for me. And I sell to marketers, and I feel like they're more likely to respond to something that reflects the content they're putting out than necessarily a LinkedIn post. And it got me in front of prospects, talking about what they care about, their challenges, and giving my opinion on those challenges. And it was at a time when I just got promoted into the enterprise team. So I really needed to raise my profile and get in front of important people and let them know, like, I know what I'm talking about. And the podcast done that for me, and it's something I can refer back to at any time. So all I mean to say there is just, don't do what everyone else does if it doesn't work for you. It's totally fine. And I don't mean, don't all get TikTok accounts tomorrow. That's not necessarily what I mean. That might not work, but just, try something new. But then the internal side of things, right? And what we're thinking about there is cross-functional selling. We all know that we need all of these different teams in order for us to close a deal. And generally speaking, all of our companies will align those teams around that goal, right? We work in sales organizations, and of course, other teams are, as per their roles, there to do things for salespeople when they need them. But in reality, it's actually still a competitive environment. There's over 10 salespeople on my team, and we're kind of, look, let's face it, salespeople are generally a little bit different to the kind of personas that you get in other departments. We can be loud, we can be brash, we kind of swan into the office and close a deal, we swan back out, no one knows what we're doing until we're getting patted on the back. It's a little bit like that. We're a little bit of a pariah to other teams. I said it, it can be true. And I think that whilst the company is always aligned around helping you get to your goal, you as an individual have to do the best that you can to ensure that you're able to pull on those other teams in a way that makes sense for you. And there's loads. When I thought of doing this as my topic, I went and researched it, and I actually found that there's loads of studies around the importance of interdepartmental relationships, being able to leverage internal resources. And if you think about it, all of that also bleeds back up to that external brand building. If you're going to be a thought leader, all of the information, all of the insight, it doesn't lie with you. The organization as a whole is a resource, and there's tons of insight and information that you need to tap into there. And when you're able to pull on those other teams, of course, you're able to present yourself, the company, your competencies to your prospects in a better way. So it all loops back. But I still think that we don't really think about how to do this, right? We don't really think about how to cement our reputation within our company and how to ensure that we have good relationships across teams. And I actually think it's something super straightforward. And forgive me if what I start saying to you, that's really obvious. Nevertheless, I think sometimes when things are obvious, we start slacking on them. We don't give them the attention that we deserve, and we don't necessarily do the work. A couple of things I think are super important, and I've actually got, it's really weird, I've got some examples from just today of how this has helped me. So I'm going to run through a list, and I'm excited to get to the panel bit, so you can tell me if I'm chatting absolute B-word, or if it chimes with you, and if you've got some other ideas of how you achieve this. The first of these is really obvious. Make friends. Just make friends. Now, I don't know about your organizations, but in mine, the sales team are very tight. Of course, we're all aligned around a very similar goal. We're quite similar kinds of people. But that means when you go to a social event, you go to the company Christmas party or whatever, you might have sales over here. And these other departments, they generally mingle a little bit more than sales does. Stop that. That's really stupid. You need to, not only do you need to rely on these people for information, resource, etc., they are other sources of kind of socio-emotional backup. When the chips are down, you want other members of other teams to be behind you, spurring you on, bringing you back up and giving you that confidence again. And how do you make friends? I mean, actually, to be honest, it's a high age profile here. Some of us may well be forgetting how to make friends. We don't generally do it that much in our day-to-day lives. But it's obvious things, right? We have a ton of Slack channels at Ometria, foodies, music, gamers. Find those people who have common interests with you and chat to them, Actually go out for drinks with them. Just generate those relationships so that these people don't just see you as that nameless, faceless, annoying saleswoman or man who comes in asking for whatever, but you never ever talk to them other than that. That's something that can be easily remedied, and probably there's some great people in other teams that you'd love to be friends with. The second of these, I think, is the real kicker. And it sounds really boring. It does sound really boring. I've practiced this speech like 10 times today, but it's cold, hard facts. Building your reputation internally is about building your reputation. Oh, I got 2 minutes. All right, quick. You've got to build your reputation on consistency and accountability. As a salesperson, right, when you want someone to do something for you, you want it now, yesterday, last week. I had a deal come in on the 31st of December, and I was doing, can you get on a call? It's New Year's Eve. Can you do this scope of work? Can you do a technical document? It was crazy. I have that reputation already, so people were prepared to go above and beyond for me. The way that I would have messed that up, and this is so often what salespeople do, is after that, when you close a deal, we have to do an onboarding document, a whole handover piece. Sometimes salespeople will take 2 weeks to do that, but no one was allowed to take 2 weeks for you. You have to pay back that same courtesy, right? You have to ensure when, you want something from product, don't go shouting at them. Use the proper processes. You need to ensure if there's a cross-departmental team, but it mimics a similar meeting that you have with just the sales team. If you want to get bored with either of those, get bored with the one that's just got your teammates in it. When you're in that meeting that has other teams in it and they need something from you, you need to show up and give them that value. And when you consistently do this, right, you're paying respect to their roles, their duties, and it just becomes obviously it's a cycle. They give that right back to you. Ultimately, the strength of your professional relationships, the diversity of those relationships, don't just align yourself with the product team, get in on marketing, get in on engineers. They are weird, but when you get to know them, it's all right? You can learn a bit of C whatever. The diversity of those relationships, but also the kind of status of those relationships. It elevates your status. And it means that when you need something right now, people are more than happy to give it to you. And more than that, they're coming to you. This afternoon, we've got a project kicking off this year to revamp our demo. And this afternoon, I was in a room with the product team. I was the only salesperson in that room, telling them everyone's gripes, telling them what we need to refresh on the demo. I got that opportunity because I'm there doing the surveys. I'm there giving them the feedback. And I got one quote for you all, and I'll end on this wonderful quote. The product lead in that team said to me in this meeting today, "Marya, your presence makes my every day." And then my chief product officer backed that up with, "Marya, your aura makes my day every day. And all that is I'm just there to help other people the way that I want them to help me. It's really, really simple, but you're probably not doing it enough, and you can easily change that and see the effects in your sales process. What was that?